What's up guys, hope everyone is doing well. In this video I'm going to be going over some updates for XYO, and I'm also going to be touching on Bitcoin dominance, the others dominance, total 3, excluding market capitalization, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also the others chart, which is total market capitalization, excluding everything in the top 10. I'm going to touch on Bitcoin because really all this, not honestly too much to say about XYO, just, I mean, really outside of things that I've already said about it recently, going back to previous videos, just because it's generally still in the same spot. If we look here at this 4-hour chart, there is this ascending support here in blue that is currently being held. I could potentially test it one more time, which would correlate with or coincide with the testing of the 800 EMA, which there was this brief deviation here and here, but generally this 800 EMA has been holding so far within this bottoming range. I do like the way this pattern here specifically looks, basically just being a massive M pattern. At the end here of this, where what we saw here for XYO was this double top. We had really kind of the brunt of the correction here, went sideways, and we kind of had like a second move of the correction. And so far, this could be potentially a bottoming out pattern. This M that I'm pointing out along the 800 EMA, because if we go to look at Bitcoin real quickly, go to the index chart here. And if we go all the way to looking here at 2015, January to September of 2015, we could see this bottoming M pattern. Bitcoin really likes to do this when it bottoms out. Generally, it looks more kind of like this, so sometimes it'll look like something along these lines where it's kind of just a general M, or sometimes it'll look like this. To where it, oh, that looks terrible. Let me get rid of this. Or it'll look, rather than like a proper M, it'll look something along these lines, which is, this is exactly what happened down here, as you can see. But if we go to here, also this one's a little bit different, this M pattern, but generally still we can see this massive M connecting the bottom of late 2018, early 2019 here to the Black Thursday pullback of March 2020. Again, just another massive M. And then most notably, because this is going to be very here, June of 2022 to end of 2022 here, but you can see that this was an M pattern that looked essentially exactly like 2015. The first one that I went over, except for this one here, you can see it's slanted, has a downwards orientation. Again, it's this M with a W in the middle. And if we go back to this one, all the way back here again, this one is just horizontal essentially, where we see the M, but we see this W here in the middle. So whenever I'm looking at XYO, I showed it on the 4-hour. If we look here at the daily, whenever I see this right here, this is what this is vibes this is giving me. Specifically, let's take a bar pattern, move it up here, and stretch it out a bit to see it a little bit better. You can see that it does honestly kind of look like an M, where we see this W here in the middle, and then it's coming back down. In this case, it would be an ascending one, as I pointed out, going back to this 4-hour currently with the ascending blue line trend support here, and also the 800 EMA as well. There's also this pink zone here that I've been pointing out on my X posts. So far, this was here, as you saw, just resistance, and then it's flipped it in support so far. Maybe it comes back down one more time and has a, one dip below the 800 EMA, second dip here, and then a third dip here. It finally, finishes this M pattern and then moves back up above this orange, or not orange, this purple resistance, which is the most crucial thing right now. There's this descending zone that's been tightening, compressing, and merging ever since the double top back here. But recently with around here, it's horizontally around 0.23 all the way up to around 0.26. This is going to be very, very important for XYO to get above horizontally. Then afterwards, as I've been saying, anything within this range right here. So basically around just approximately 3 cents up to like 3.5 cents. There is this small vector zone right here, as you can see. So that might, maybe we'd see XYO come up and hit this, maybe come down and do something. Who knows what's going to happen? There's plenty of ways that it could end up trading, but this daily chart, again, like I pointed out with this W, potentially might even see it come down and make a horizontal M and hit the 200 EMA right here and then come up, which that would bring the price down to around 13, well, 0.135, about 1.3, 3.5 cents. But I've also been pointing out, here we can see Bitcoin continuing to just not look all that great. It just looks weak, but as I've already recorded a Bitcoin video, it'll be going up the same time as this one. A lot of times when Bitcoin looks its weakest in the charts and the sentiment in terms of the morale, like the fear and greed index is sitting at below 50. It's neutral, it's 47, but a lot of times when you see Bitcoin looking weak price-wise and the sentiment morale's fairly low, a lot of times it lines up with when Bitcoin's bottoming out and moving back into another big move towards the upside. But for XYO here, as I've been pointing out with the temporal trend, those will be, I'll have the videos linked in cards. I'm not going to go over that too in depth in this video just because I've gone over it so many times recently. But we go all the way back here to when XYO is bottoming out here, January to February, generally just Q1 of 2024. It bottomed out sideways and then moved here from 0.005, around half a penny, all the way up to around just a little bit above a penny and a half, around 0.16. So we could be seeing the same thing here where we're ultimately seeing XYO retrace here and set this type 2 double bottom. Maybe it will come back down to around 0.13. Maybe we even see, especially if Bitcoin doesn't end performing too well and has one more final shakeout, we might even see XYO move down to around 1 cent on the dot. If the move of Bitcoin is brutal enough towards the downside, I think it's possible that we see XYO come all the way back down here to the bottom of this vector zone, right here where this symmetrical triangle was that led into the move up to 4.5 cents. So, I mean, we could totally see something like this happen and then a quick recovery if Bitcoin has one final severe shakeout, because that's going to brutalize quite badly the altcoin space. And a lot of the altcoins are already looking not that good. XYO, not really in that boat. It's been moving well. It looks better than a lot of notable altcoins, such as if you look at the Polygon chart, compare it to XYO, Polygon is literally sitting at its absolute bear market lows. I think it may have actually even went lower instead of new low recently, or at least it got very close. So, I mean, it's obviously, best case scenario, XYO, we want to see it, move up here. I really want to see it get back above that, basically 2 pennies up to 2.5 pennies, and then move towards that 3.5, 4 cents, and then finally take out 4.5 cents towards the upside. But as I said, there's definitely the possibility to retest this horizontal local load around 0.13 one more time, and maybe even go lower. Worst case scenario, if Bitcoin just does not get its act together and it has one more final shakeout. If you look here at this weekly chart, before I point out the main thing, I just want to point out again, there's this insanely important ascending resistance support zone where it was obviously resistance here, resistance here. Recently, I think it's flipping in support, and we'll see it move higher. What's more likely than that? Obviously, who knows what's going to happen, but as long as Bitcoin can hold this, or XYO rather can hold this, it's really best case scenario. Now, if Bitcoin does have that severe shakeout, and we see the altcoins basically brutalized, we could see, again, this is basically something along these lines what happened here, and we'd see XYO move down here to this 50 EMA band, bottom out maybe somewhere around here, worst case scenario, then quickly recover and get back above this parabolic curve linear. What was resistance? So far, here you can see flipped into support here. Maybe we'll actually come down and test this once more and then move up here to the green zone, then eventually up to the blue zone. But the main thing I want to point out here is if we go all the way back to this specific, if I can find the little box down here, this specific 2 candle zone right here is exactly where, let's see, is exactly this 2 candle. I'll take it out and make it 3. So if we look here at this 3 candle zone back here, right, leading into mid, roughly the final portion of February 2024, that's where we are here, just a year later. Again, this is the crypto market wide temporal trend. Bitcoin's been doing this, Ethereum, Cardano, nearly essentially everything has been doing it in their own idiosyncratic, their own unique way, deviating a little bit, but still ultimately following this temporal trend that I've been pointing out. So again, if Bitcoin can get its act together, we'll see XYO validate this and find a bounce up here towards the green zone, anywhere from around just the prior all-time high, around 8 cents, but specifically somewhere around 12 to 16 cents, potentially with some wicks up to around 20, 21, 22 cents. Sometime by, at this point, it seems like things are slowing down a little bit, so it might, because for example, this topped out back in March, we're getting close to March, so we may see this top here head closer towards maybe May or April, rather than topping out in March and really sticking very, very closely to the temporal trend. But overall, the temporal trend would still be there, even if it deviates by a month, month and a half, maybe even 2 months at most. Now, if we look here at this final weekly chart, so far on this historical inside pitchfork, the 618 here is still being held currently. Now, if we do see that shakeout with Bitcoin and the altcoin space gets brutalized even more, we could see a move down here to the 25 EMA or 25 moving average, this green moving average, which sits at around 0.123. Likely if that did happen, we'd see some wicks down to the 786 here, which sits somewhere again also around 1 penny, which also would imply maybe even some wicks down around 0.008. Worst case scenario, as I said, pointed out on the 4 hour and the daily chart. But now, when it comes to elaborating more on this, if you haven't seen my recent videos for XYO, the all-time high range here and this green box and how it relates to this inside pitchfork, I would just recommend and refer you to my previous videos. I don't really want to stick on that too much because I've talked about it so much recently. Also, if we look at the last move back in quarter 1 of 2024, you can see that RSI got quite close to 382. We could see that again as well. Maybe we'll see XYO have that one final move down to around 0.13, maybe even a little bit lower, to where we'll see this RSI move down closer to the 382. Also, if we look here at the RVI, there is this ascending trend so far for the RVI, going all the way back to basically beginning of May of last year. And the RVI is just a smidge above it, so this also could be pointing to XYO is essentially already set its local low, which should be just a tad bit below 0.13. And we'll start to see this move here towards the upside, as well as for Bitcoin, because even though Bitcoin looks weak, it doesn't, as I went over in the video, for Bitcoin going up alongside this one, despite it looking weak, the morale looking kind of bad, it overall, it's not total doom and gloom, and it very well could, over the next 5 days, best case scenario, within the next 5 days, like 15, 14 hours at this point, seeing Bitcoin flip the current weekly candle green would be best case scenario. Now, looking here at the Bitcoin dominance, mainly again, so if we go all the way back to January, generally quarter 1, 2017, it's going to be each of these pink vertical lines. You see the dominance just absolutely plummets. It plummeted here. And so, I mean, that's again, like I said, quarter 1, 2017, quarter 1, 2021. Now we're in quarter 1, 2025. Every 4 years, we're seeing this dominance tanking. This is associated with the halving for Bitcoin, the overall bull to bear to bull 4-year cycle idea or concept that people talk about quite often. So zooming in, we see this ascending resistance here. Recently, we saw a wick right up to it. We also see the overall, the macro going on in 2017, this descending resistance zone here is also acting as resistance once more. If we look here at the RSI, it's starting to dip back below the uptrend of here that has characterized going all the way back to the beginning of this accumulation period, leading into the uptrend for the dominance here for Bitcoin. So many things are shaping up to point to the notion that the parabolic price discovery period of alt season is right around the corner now. A lot of people are saying alt season is dead, it's not coming. This has been said cycle to cycle. It was being said back in like December, just generally late 2020, and then it ended up, well, historically speaking, whenever it gets to the point where everybody is just saying alt season is dead and it's not happening, it's literally very close to, in most cases, going back in history and looking at the sentiment psychologically and then comparing that along with what the charts are saying. In general, there's also just a number of metrics as well that people are going off of, basing the opinion off of, that the alt season is not going to happen. But I mean, it also as well, if you look here, there's this descending here for the RSI, the resistance, and then the ascending here. So there's some bearish divergence as well. But I mean, if we look here again, factoring in the fact that there does seem to be something different with this, current, the last number of years, especially with this current bull market for Bitcoin, with the institutional adoption, there is something this time. No saying like this time is different. There is definitely something different for many reasons, such as the institutional adoption and I, for the life of me, cannot remember what metric it is that I'm referring to. One of the ones specifically. If I manage to remember or find it after I get this video recorded, I will overlay it as I'm talking about this right now. But there is a metric that is for all of Bitcoin's history, especially during the bull markets, where it's an in and uptrend while Bitcoin is in a bull market. But this time around, as Bitcoin's been in a bull market and a long-term uptrend, it's been going downwards. So there is metrics that are insinuating that this time is by some contextual degree different. And I think that that could be factored into the notion of maybe it's not necessarily going to be alt season anymore, because there's absolutely, I mean, there's so many alternative cryptocurrencies at this point that it's just not really reasonable or feasible to see the money flow into literally every single altcoin. So maybe at this point it's going to become more so like viable blockchain solution season, where it's no longer altcoin season and just every altcoin goes crazy, but only the viable blockchain solutions, so such as XYO, the topic of this video, would be one of those coins that's going to be a part of this transitional, this new era of what alt season was in the past, now becoming viable blockchain solution season. Now, if we look here at this others dominance chart, so this is all of the dominance of the cryptocurrency space, excluding the top 10 cryptocurrencies. Now this is using a non-logarithmic chart, and the very eye-opening thing is the fact that if you look here, there's this clear ascending uptrend here, going all the way back to 2015. Each of these green zones that you see here on this chart are quarter one of each of these respective years. So back here is quarter one of 2017. Here we see quarter one of 2020. Or 2021 rather, and here we see quarter one of 2025. So again, it's every single 4 years. Again, Bitcoin dominance just absolutely tanks every single 4 years since 2017. Looking at the others dominance, 2017 bull market, 2017 or 2021 bull market, now 2025, 4 years later, within the overall cycle, in the periodicity here, and also the ascending trend here as well. You look down here at the indicators, the RSI's got some bullish divergence, the stock RSI's got some bullish divergence, MACD's got some potential bullish divergence if it finds a bounce soon, RVI's also got some bullish divergence, the ASO's got some, I mean, all of them have some degree of bullish divergence, and that could be broken, especially if, you know, the dominance here tanks, and obviously the indicators are going to tank with it. But I mean, as of right now, obviously as the weeks go on here, especially Bitcoin ends up having some sort of final shakeout down to like maybe somewhere around like $83,000 to $90,000. I think we could probably see this deviate a little bit, but ultimately still end up moving towards the upside. Now, unless, you know, obviously, you know, let's go just look at Bitcoin here soon, which this is also one of the this is the chart I'm going to go in this video for Bitcoin. I went over this in the Bitcoin video going up alongside this one, but if Bitcoin can manage to not do something like this and retrace all the way down like 70,000 and then find a bounce here and then continue the rest of the bull market, or maybe Bitcoin's topped out. Maybe here maybe 109,000 was the all-time high and Bitcoin's about to enter a multi-year bear market. I don't think it would go down here, which would be around down here in this, if you can't see this on the video, but I don't think $20,000 is gonna, well, I mean, if Bitcoin tops out here, if it actually did indeed top out here, then I mean, with the whole idea of the less severe bear markets, I mean, it'd have to be somewhere around like 75%, which would take it down around 25,000. So it would get close to 20,000, maybe even wick to 20,000. But at this point, I don't think Bitcoin's topped out here. I think there's still one more final move towards the upside. But if Bitcoin can just manage to get its act together here and not go below really just the support of this trend here, this ascending channel, which sits somewhere around like 84,000. So like I said, maybe we move down to 84,000. Maybe we see some wicks, brief wicks below, maybe even down to like 81, 82, 80,000, and then it can quickly recover and move towards the upside. That's all fine. But obviously the altcoins, the others dominance here is probably going to tank. Is pretty, you know, it's not going to be looking too good. It might come all the way down to like roughly 7% and do something along these lines, like I said. But you know, if you look here at the total 3 chart, I posted a video going over this chart somewhere. I don't remember because it's been so long. It was somewhere right here. So it was somewhere towards the end of the accumulation channel here. So it should have been somewhere probably around August, September, October, November, December, end of 2023. And I was just pointing out how, if you look here at these accumulations, so this yellow highlight here, as I have all, but the accumulation period back here had 10 pivot points. Then the one of most recent had 10 pivot points. They both had here, you can see this one single deviation from the accumulation channel here, as you can see in blue each of these times. And then obviously this ended up playing out rather nicely, moved towards the upside. Now the total 3 chart here, again, this includes Bitcoin and Ethereum, is sitting right here at the prior all-time highs. And if you just go back and look at all the Bitcoin, all the other alternative cryptocurrencies that have enough price data, like for example, if we look here at Bitcoin, every single time Bitcoin, and also other notable altcoins as well, every single time you can see here, Bitcoin comes back up to an all-time high. It doesn't just immediately enter a new bear market. It's parabolic. You look here, leading into May of 2017, parabolic. You look here, leading into December 2020, went parabolic. And now I think that's what we're seeing here. I don't think we're just going to see this pipsqueak move that we're seeing right here. I think it's more likely that we'll see a move upwards towards 200 to 250,000, maybe even 300,000 highs. Maybe it'll even go up to 500,000, like some people are saying, because of the fundamental scenario in America with the pro-crypto Bitcoin administration and the growing acceptance and adoption globally. Maybe it's just going to completely propel Bitcoin to highs that people aren't even really thinking are reasonable right now. I don't think that that's going to happen, but it could happen. But I mean, really, zooming in here, there is this vector zone here that goes all the way down to around 620 billion. So, I mean, that could totally be retested even further. Again, especially all this really XYO, Ethereum, Cardano, all the other altcoins, the total 3 market cap here, the others dominance, what Bitcoin dominate, it all depends on what Bitcoin's going to do. If Bitcoin has a severe shakeout, we're going to see this drop down probably pretty low, just like XYO will do, just like Ethereum will do. With the recent shakeout that happens for Bitcoin, obviously, those of you aware saw how badly Ethereum and other altcoins dumped because of that. Now, if we see something like that or even worse, then obviously it's going to spell, I think relatively short-term to medium-term disaster. But I mean, you could totally see, come down maybe the 50 EMA band here, so anywhere from around like 700 billion to 790 billion, which is already wick 2 basically, the middle of that range at this point anyway. But I mean, I still think that it's fairly reasonable to see, by the end of this year, see the total 3 chart here move up anywhere from around, I would say, to put this down a little bit lower, maybe somewhere around like 4 trillion at lowest, maybe, pushing like 8, 9, 10 trillion at highest. If you look here at the others chart, this essentially looks identical almost to the total 3 chart here. Really, again, just looks basically identical. The only main difference here is what it's done right here, roughly in this area, in comparison to the total 3 chart. I mean, again, it's really nothing different. Same story. If Bitcoin has a final shakeout, it just has if it's not even necessarily a shakeout. I mean, let's say that Bitcoin is going to enter a sustained, like, just further correction here, and it moves down to like 70,000 and then ramps up towards around, like maybe Q3, Q4, towards the $200,000 to $300,000 broad range. Something like this is totally possible. Going down to 70K, finding support along this, what was the resistance horizontally back here, and then quickly recovering and finishing out the bull market towards the end of this year, probably late Q3, Q4 in general. I still don't lean that way personally, but it's definitely possible. And if that does happen, we see Bitcoin go down to 70K, we'd likely see maybe this even come back all the way down to the 200 EMA here. The others chart at around 200 billion. This chart could also come down to the 200 EMA at around maybe 520 to 30 billion. The others dominance again also would probably tank quite low. I mean, if it started to go below like 6.5%, probably, I don't know. If it starts to go below this vector zone, that's, I mean, I don't know. Maybe alt season actually is dead. Who knows? I don't know. I especially don't know what's going to happen, but I just really don't think that that's going to be the case here. When you have this, again, this 4-year trend of dumping on the Bitcoin dominance here, as I pointed out, you look here at this 4-year bull trend on the others dominance, as I pointed out here, looking at the total 3 chart and others chart here, when every single time in any of the viable cryptocurrencies and the market capitalizations, when you see it come to the prior all-time highs, what doesn't happen is an immediate bear market. It's always going to have a very parabolic thrust towards the upside. And I think this time around, which again, as I pointed out, there are reasons to think that this time is different, and it definitely is different to a degree, but not different to the degree of catastrophically changing everything and going along with the notion that, you know, alt season is never going to be here again. Altcoins are never going to do anything. It's only just going to be Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin from here on out because of the institutional interest specifically in Bitcoin. But that was all really that I wanted to go over and talk about in this video. Again, hopefully I can remember what metric it is, and I probably will just spend my time searching up what exactly that metric is and overlay it in this video when I was talking about it. But as I said, that was all that I wanted to talk about and go over and update in this video. So as always, none of this is meant to be financial advice, but all that being said and everything gone over, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Ooh, I'm regretting now.